He was, after all, an elder of the 6th rank Sky Range Motsung sect. His departure naturally caught the attention of many powerful figures, especially those who had guessed the reason behind his departure, who were now paying even more attention. In the main city of Eastern Penglai, Song Zitsong sat cross-legged in the room where the previous transaction took place, holding a jade slip in his hand, his face shifting between gloom and clarity. This time, with so many immortal jades, I'll definitely succeed. He took a deep breath and was about to carefully reconsider his plans when, suddenly, he shot his gaze up. His eyes seemed capable of piercing through the room, directly to the outside, where he saw Wu Qing disappearing into the distance like a long rainbow. Although Wu Qing's cultivation has reached shattered nirvana, his greed has not diminished at all. In fact, it's only grown. What's more interesting is that this person, despite claiming to be a master of schemes, is actually quite arrogant. I invited him to the meeting because I had heard of his dealings with that Lu Zihao, and I wanted to see if they could provoke any conflict. Now, with him chasing after Lu Zihao is certain to die. But it doesn't matter. After all, I've traded with this man, and I will make sure his primordial crystals don't fall into someone else's hands. A sinister smile appeared on Song Zitsong's face as his divine sense shot out like lightning, quickly covering Wu Qing's location for a close watch. On the 4th floor of a tavern in the main city, a man and a woman sat across from each other. The man, dressed in white, looked like a jade tree in the wind, while the woman opposite him was a stunning matron, wearing a floral jacket that made her delicate face even more graceful. Both of them simultaneously raised their heads and looked into the distance. The alluring matron sighed and shook her head. That young one has simply been in the cultivation world for too short a time. He carelessly exposed his treasure, bringing about the fatal peril of losing his life. What a pity. The scholar in white paused, his eyes flashing with a strange gleam before he smiled. I'm not so sure. Although this little fellow may not be as strong as Wu Qing, the fact that he dared to walk out of the main city while knowing Wu Qing was nearby means he must have some kind of support. Oh, I must disagree with that. This young one is likely frightened and wanted to leave early, but who would have expected that Wu Qing, disregarding his identity, would chase after him? The matron smiled lightly and glanced at the scholar in white. We'll see how it turns out, the scholar replied with a slight smile. Both their divine senses immediately spread out and darted toward Wu Qing. On a street in the main city, an elderly man with a face full of scars walked slowly, his hands behind his back, observing the rows of buildings around him with a nostalgic expression. If it weren't for Song Zitsong's strong invitation, I might never have set foot on the Penglai continent again, he sighed, then suddenly looked up, his gaze flashing. What a brazen display of bullying the weak and openly killing for treasure. The old man laughed loudly, his body swaying as he leaped onto the roof of a house, sitting cross-legged there. His divine sense spread out in an instant, watching the scene unfold. In a guest house on the outskirts of the main city, an emaciated old man dressed in black stood by the window, two spherical objects floating around him. He gazed at the gradually brightening sky, his divine sense already extending into the distance. Let Wu Qing take the lead. What a pity. The powerful figures who had attended Song Zitsong's meeting, except for the scholar in white, all believed that Wong Lin was certain to die. Even the scholar in white, while slightly doubtful, knew in his heart that a pure nirvana cultivator had no chance in front of a shattered nirvana cultivator. It wasn't just them. At that moment, there were also several shattered nirvana cultivators in Penglai market, all quietly spreading their divine senses, following Wu Qing's departure. Among them was Tang Lihai. Tang Lihai sat cross-legged in a room, suddenly opening his eyes from meditation, frowning. After a moment's hesitation, he sighed softly but did nothing to stop him. Master once said not to provoke that person. Wu Qing, oh Wu Qing, why must you be like this? In the room next door, a middle-aged man sat at a table, holding a wine cup. He had just taken a sip when he suddenly looked up, his eyes flashing coldly as he stared into the distance. Wu Qing, you fool. After a brief hesitation, the middle-aged man's body shifted, and he shot toward the distant horizon. Other great cultivators from various sects, who had not previously spread their divine senses, now began to take notice of the numerous old monsters in Penglai market who were doing so. Surprised, they all began to observe the situation. At this moment, in the Penglai continent, the winds of change surged, and hidden tides began to stir, all because of Wu Qing's departure. No one could have predicted what would happen next, an event that would shock everyone. A name would rise higher and higher, reaching the peak, becoming an existence they could only look up to. This battle on the Penglai continent would mark the first battle where this person would show his cultivation prowess across the sea of clouds. Li Qianmei was not in the Penglai Eastern market, but atop a towering mountain peak, sitting cross-legged. The strong mountain wind blew her hair wildly, her bright eyes staring silently at the west. Wong Lin moved like lightning, bursting out from eastern Penglai and dashing straight across the western plains. Behind him, a long rainbow streaked across the sky, pursuing at an even faster speed. The two figures, one ahead and one behind, were drawing closer and closer. In just moments, moving at their speed, they reached the edge between eastern and western Penglai, a vast plain strewn with chaotic rocks, stretching endlessly into the distance. A perfect place for a kill. This battle, Wong Lin didn't just want to win. He had to win decisively, cleanly, with overwhelming dominance, and swiftly. Only by doing so could he send a message to all cultivators across Penglai. Wong Lin was not someone to provoke lightly. But that wasn't enough. If it ended there, it wouldn't showcase the full extent of Wong Lin's capabilities. He intended not only to kill Wu Qing, but to instill such dread in those from the Motsong sect that they would not dare to act, not dare to seek revenge. Only fear, only deep anxiety. If it had been before he understood the ninefold star domain, Wong Lin might have still hesitated. But after hearing about it from Li Qianmei, all his doubts were gone. Wong Lin came to a sudden halt, slowly turning to face the howling wind behind him. There, Wu Qing's figure emerged from the storm. Murderous intent flared in Wu Qing's eyes, fully unveiled. Seeing that Wong Lin was no longer fleeing, he said nothing. His right hand lifted and struck forward without hesitation, attacking with his full strength, holding nothing back. Drawing upon his cultivation at the early shattered nirvana stage, Wu Qing conjured a massive mountain peak in the air before him. With a roar, he sent it crashing straight toward Wong Lin. "You little wretch. Don't blame me for being ruthless. You harmed a disciple of the Motsong sect. Now be ready to die. Today, I'll destroy your body and refine your reverse primordial spirit into pills." Wong Lin's expression was ice cold. He locked eyes on the approaching mountain peak. Just as it came within less than half a zhang of his body, he raised his right hand and punched forward. With a deafening boom, his fist collided with the mountain peak. The sound of shattering stone echoed through the sky. The entire mountain crumbled in an instant. Wong Lin retracted his hand, shook his head, and said, "Too weak." Wu Qing froze for a moment. His expression shifted instantly. Without pause, he formed seals with both hands. Two whirlwinds, one black, one white, manifested around him and shot into the sky, forming a storm. As they collided, the whirlwinds merged into a gray vortex. Power to rend the heavens. Wu Qing growled, thrusting his hands forward. The vortex swelled violently, drawing in heaven and earth energy from tens of thousands of miles around. It blotted out the sky as it surged toward Wong Lin. Wu Qing's heart trembled. The image of Wong Lin destroying his mountain peak with a single punch replayed in his mind again and again. He reached into the air with his right hand, and a storage rift appeared. He was just about to retrieve a magical artifact. But in that instant, Wong Lin's eyes snapped wide open, radiating a killing light colder than ice. This was the moment he had been waiting for. "Wu Qing, your death has come." Wong Lin's voice echoed like a winter wind, chilling Wu Qing to the bone. Then, Wong Lin stepped forward and raised his right hand, striking the air before him. Instantly, the heaven and earth energy within tens of thousands of miles roared into chaos. At the same moment, his left hand tapped his right hand's back with two fingers. Suddenly, all that chaotic heaven and earth energy surged toward Wong Lin, completely under his command. It fused into his fingertips, flowed into his right hand, and transformed into an unimaginable force that burst out toward the vortex. The two divine arts collided in an instant, creating a shockwave that echoed across half the Penglai continent. Without pause, Wong Lin's left hand struck his right hand a second time. With this second tap, the heaven and earth energy across 100,000 miles roared into motion, merging into an even greater impact and blasting into Wu Qing's vortex. Still not done, Wong Lin casually withdrew his left hand, reached toward the sky as if plucking something from the heavens, and struck a third time. This time, the heaven and earth energy of the entire Penglai continent seemed to boil. It surged into Wong Lin's right hand, forming a world-destroying force that slammed toward the vortex. The vortex shuddered and then, in a thunderous explosion, collapsed. The shockwave swept outward wildly, hurling rocks into the sky. Countless stones shattered in midair, reduced to powder that filled the air like mist. Even without his original body present, Wong Lin could already kill a cultivator at the early shattered nirvana stage. But now, with his true body merged and enhanced by the power of the ancient god, his physical might was beyond imagination, and his killing power soared to terrifying heights. As the three strikes fell, Wong Lin's right hand unleashed a palm strike, like a tidal wave crashing down toward Wu Qing. Wu Qing's pupils contracted, death looming over him. He didn't even have time to regret. From his storage dimension, a multitude of magical artifacts flew out, trying desperately to shield him. However, this divine art Wong Lin used was learned from Lu Fuzi. Though he hadn't fully grasped its essence, with Lu Fuzi's formidable cultivation base, the power of this technique was enough to make even an immortal emperor tread cautiously. How could a technique passed down from such a figure be something Wu Qing's magical artifact could withstand? Wu Qing was not worthy, not qualified in the least. Thunderous booms echoed through the heavens and earth. All the magical artifacts Wu Qing summoned shattered instantly. A black palm seal struck his chest directly. His robes were torn to shreds, blood sprayed from his mouth, and he stumbled backward, face pale, eyes wide in utter disbelief. His mind reeled in shock. "You're not at the pure nirvana stage." Wu Qing screamed hoarsely. "Wu Qing, I won't be seeing you off," Wong Lin said calmly, closing his eyes. He raised his right hand once again, and in his mind emerged the massive palm from the Renegade Immortal world long ago. The palm seal in his memory grew larger and larger until it consumed everything. In the Renegade Immortal world, he had first comprehended this technique, casting it in a haze of understanding, enough to drive back the heavenly pride red butterfly. In the land of demonic spirits, he deepened his grasp. Using it unconsciously, it left Demon General Mo Lihai stunned. The second time he returned to the land of demonic spirits, the palm seal shook the heavens, destroying the 8th level of the Immortal Emperor's cave mansion, leaving Ling Tianhou in terrified awe. Among the shattered stones of the Alliance Star Domain, he used the technique once more to intercept the fleeing Violet Dao Sect cultivators, slaughtering life, devastating the world. It was in that moment he finally understood the name of this technique. Soul Subjugation Seal. 9th rank Divine Sect Technique. Soul Subjugation Seal. Each moment of realization flashed through Wong Lin's mind. Each of the 4 castings, from vague comprehension to complete manifestation, until all dissolved into one singular, eternal image, a palm seal. This seal carried an unimaginable, indescribable might. It surged into his right hand as pure intent. With a sudden sweep forward, he struck. The skies changed. Roaring thunder erupted as if pulled from the earth itself. The dust in the air was swept away by a violent gale. Within that strike lay an aura of absolute supremacy, peerless between heaven and earth. As Wong Lin's palm descended, a colossal seal, vast enough to blot out sky and land, materialized before him, surging forward with a crushing force beyond description. This palm seal was one with the heavens. Beneath it, Wu Qing's body was as insignificant as an ant. And in the moment it appeared, all the divine senses from the surrounding old monsters trembled. The entire Penglai was thrown into shock and fear. Soul Subjugation Seal. 9th rank Divine Sect's Soul Subjugation Seal. Wu Qing froze, terror consuming him. A despair unlike anything he had ever felt before swallowed his soul. Under the weight of that seal, even as a shattered nirvana cultivator, he felt as if the world were collapsing, dragging him with it. But more terrifying than anything was the realization that this legendary seal, unique to the divine sect, had appeared right before him. To him, it wasn't just a seal, it was the entire divine sect bearing down upon him. With a scream, Wu Qing retreated in desperation. His face turned ghostly white, eyes filled with panic so overwhelming it drowned his soul. He could no longer care about his grievous internal injuries or the crumbling of his physical body. The only thought that consumed his mind was escape. Escape at any cost. But he couldn't escape. In his pupils, the palm seal expanded until it consumed his entire vision. In an instant, it struck him. With a deafening boom, the earth trembled. Wu Qing's body exploded into a mist of blood. His essence spirit tore free but didn't even get the chance to flee before it was swept away by the palm seal, vanishing like a lone boat in a furious sea. Completely annihilated. Thus perished Wu Qing, elder of the Motsung sect, a cultivator at the early shattered nirvana stage. His Tao extinguished, his life ended, shrouded in terror, confusion, and overwhelming regret. At the moment of Wu Qing's death, Wong Lin took a step forward, arriving at the place where Wu Qing had previously opened a storage rift. From the moment Wu Qing had appeared to the moment he died, everything had occurred in the blink of an eye. It wasn't instantaneous, but it was clean and decisive. So fast, in fact, that Wu Qing's storage rift hadn't even closed. With his death, its imprint vanished and it began rapidly dissipating. But at the very last moment, Wong Lin thrust his right hand into the rift and seized everything inside. This was the method he had thought of to obtain the treasures of a pure nirvana cultivator's storage rift. Strike at the instant the rift was opened, kill swiftly, and snatch what lay within in a flash of lightning. The palm seal didn't dissipate. Instead, it surged forward in a frenzy, tearing across the ground like an unstoppable force, shaking the earth with thunderous might. The entire Penglai continent trembled, as though the land itself had risen in waves beneath the roaring palm seal. As it charged forward, it drew in the boundless world energy. Towering as high as the heavens, the palm seal tore through the sky, reversing the clouds, shredding them apart. The skies split open with countless fractures. The roaring sound was like a thunderclap, echoing across the Penglai continent, as if witnessing the reappearance of the soul subjugation seal. The palm seal accelerated, absorbing more and more of the heaven and earth energy. In a moment, it broke free from Wong Lin's control. Wong Lin, in turn, withdrew his divine sense, letting the palm seal roar forward unchecked. The ground trembled more violently as the speed of the palm seal reached the incredible, moving with a force no less than a shattered nirvana cultivator. In the blink of an eye, it rushed toward the numerous floating conical stone market districts in the eastern Penglai. This scene was so astonishing that all the cultivators of Penglai continent were shocked. As they saw the palm seal approaching like an enraged wave, they rushed out from one market after another. In an instant, the palm seal crashed into a floating conical stone block ahead. The enormous stone trembled before it shattered, along with the city and market atop it, unable to stop the palm seal's advance. As the palm seal passed, the booming sound continued, and more than 10 conical stone blocks on the right side of the market collapsed with a deafening roar. The palm seal brushed so closely past the central city stone block that it caused the stone to shudder and lean slightly to the left. The earth-shaking sound replaced everything around them at that moment, as the palm seal tore through the eastern Penglai market district, heading straight for the sky. The scene seemed like someone was defying the heavens, challenging their power. A single palm to the heavens. It broke through countless layers of defense on the Penglai continent and shot into the starry sky. The vast star mist in the sky bizarrely merged into the palm seal, making it grow larger and more powerful. Not far from Penglai's stars lay the primordial continent, a forbidden place of the Jade Treasure Sect, where no external sect cultivators were allowed to step foot. Yet, the direction of the palm seal's movement was heading straight for this forbidden land. In an instant, the palm seal absorbed the enormous star mist, transforming into a gigantic, boundless palm, like that of an ancient god, descending upon the primordial continent. Boom, boom, boom. Unimaginable waves reverberated through the starry sky. The primordial continent trembled, splitting into countless massive fragments, collapsing into ruin. the palm seal dissipated. Wong Lin's mind was shaken. He hadn't expected that the palm seal, once it was out of his control, would possess such power. He vaguely guessed that perhaps the palm seal from the Renegade Immortal world all those years ago had come from the same source. Far off, the middle-aged cultivator from the Motsung sect stared dumbfounded at the unfolding scene, gasping in disbelief. For Wong Lin, a storm of fear rose in his heart. This is the soul subjugation seal. This person's identity. His face went pale, and his thoughts were paralyzed, unable to even entertain the idea of seeking revenge for Wu Qing. At the same time, every cultivator on the Penglai continent was stunned, especially those with divine sense who could clearly see everything. The great divine ability elders were dumbfounded. Song Zitsong's eyes widened, and he crushed the jade slip in his hand, staring ahead in a daze. His heart trembled, his face ashen, and he instinctively licked his lips. Who is he? Inside the tavern, the scholar in white and the alluring matron had also left just as the palm seal swept through. They gazed at the ruins ahead. Half of the Penglai market district had been obliterated. The alluring matron's face turned pale, her pupils constricted, and she was struck speechless, her heart filled with disbelief and chilling dread. The cultivator she had previously referred to as a little fellow now filled her with terror. Slaying Wu Qing and using the soul subjugation seal. This person must never be provoked. The scholar in white opposite her took a sharp breath, his eyes gleaming. Yet, the shock in his heart could not be concealed by the glow in his gaze. Not far away, the elderly man with a face full of pits stood frozen in place. He still couldn't believe what had just happened. I never imagined he was a disciple of the divine sect. The soul subjugation seal is too terrifying. The most relieved of all was the elderly man in black. The two spheres in his hands had stopped spinning. His face pale and cold sweat trickled down his forehead. He took a deep breath. Fortunately, Wu Qing made the first move. Otherwise, today I would have been done for. To provoke a disciple of the divine sect. The Motsung sect is on the brink of annihilation. The elderly woman in green who had sold the star map to Wong Lin was also watching the ruined market district. Her eyes flickered, her brows furrowed as she suppressed the shock in her heart, thinking about something unknown. The most terrified of all was Tang Lihai. His lips trembled, and he was filled with dread. If he were to face Wong Lin again, he would not be as calm as before. Any shattered nirvana cultivator who could kill another in the early shattered nirvana stage in such a short time would send anyone into a panic. Aside from them, all the sect cultivators and great divine ability elders who had arrived on Penglai continent, especially those who had witnessed the event through their divine sense, now turned their complex gazes westward. Wong Lin's expression was calm as he patted the lime dust off his clothes and walked forward. Not far ahead of him, the middle-aged man with a pale face, who had been hiding in the inn earlier, appeared. "You're late." Wong Lin remained silent, his cold gaze fixed on the middle-aged man before him. The man's cultivation had reached the mid-shattered nirvana stage. Wong Lin had long wanted to know whether, after merging with his true self, he could face a cultivator of this level in battle. The middle-aged man's expression grew more bitter as he sighed deeply. He cupped his hands again and said, 2 days ago, Wu Qing was expelled from the Motsung sect. His actions and words have nothing to do with our sect. This fool offended the divine sect. His death is his own fault. Let him die. Wong Lin said nothing, his gaze still icy. The more he acted this way, the more it matched the demeanor of a disciple of the divine sect, proud and above all. To someone from a mere 6th-rank star domain sect, like this one, a disciple of the divine sect would be unshakable. The middle-aged man forced a bitter smile and, gritting his teeth, raised his right hand and grasped the air. A storage rift appeared before him, and several bottles of pills flew out, 7 in total. These are all 7th-rank soul-departing pills, 46 in total. Wong Lin's eyes remained cold. The middle-aged man paused for a moment, then reached out again, retrieving a vial from the rift. This contains 9 8th-rank soul-departing pills. The matter of Wu Qing's offense can be forgiven, but your Motsung sect's offense cannot. Wong Lin's voice was calm, yet carried an air of authority as he spoke. This authority was not something an ordinary cultivator could possess. Even if someone had reached the shattered nirvana stage, Unless they were the leader of a powerful sect, they could not exude such presence. Wong Lin had once been the sacred sovereign of the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect. At this moment, he didn't need to try. Just thinking of his time there naturally brought forth this powerful presence. The middle-aged man smiled bitterly and once again retrieved 2 wax-like pills from the storage rift, looking at Wong Lin and speaking with a pained expression. 2 10th-rank pills. This is the limit of what I can offer. Wu Qing spent tens of thousands of immortal jade to harass me. Competing for a treasure, Wong Lin said gently. The middle-aged man did not reply, instead taking out a storage pouch from the rift. Without even looking at its contents, Wong Lin flicked his sleeve and gathered all the items before nodding at the middle-aged man. He walked past him, turning into a streak of light, heading straight for the Penglai Eastern Market. It wasn't until Wong Lin had departed that the middle-aged man's face gradually darkened, his inner rage nearly boiling over. Wu Qing, I told you not to provoke this person, but you refused to listen. You deserve to die, and now, you've brought disaster to the Motsung sect. He's actually a disciple of the divine sect. Sigh. At the top of a mountain peak in eastern Penglai, Li Qianmei's eyes gleamed with a strange light. After a long pause, she murmured softly, the divine sect? It's been many years since a disciple of the divine sect left the 9th rank star domain. Only those at the core of the divine sect, capable of using the soul subjugation seal, could leave. But the way his first strike was delivered earlier was odd. I'm not sure what kind of divine art it was, but it dominantly controlled the energy of heaven and earth, hinting at some form of enslavement. Wong Lin's speed wasn't fast. The streak of light cut across the sky, gradually returning to eastern Penglai. From a distance, he saw the ruins of half a market district and the countless cultivators floating in the air. Upon his arrival, these cultivators, each with complex expressions, quickly made way for him. Their gazes were filled with reverence. All of them knew that any cultivator who could arrive here must be powerful, and everything that had happened earlier had left a deep impact on them. Especially that massive palm print, which had shaken the entire Cloud Sea star domain. It was instantly recognizable, and everyone knew it was the first divine art of the divine sect, the soul subjugation seal. Even those who had doubted initially now no longer had any doubts after witnessing the power of the palm print. In the 6th-rank sects of Penglai continent, the elders of these sects stepped out and cupped their hands to Wong Lin in respect. Even Songzi Tsang, upon spotting Wong Lin from afar, smiled and hid his shock, eager to engage in conversation. Wong Lin remained calm, internally sneering. He exchanged a polite salute, then weaved through the crowd and returned to his inn. In the cultivation world, strength ruled supreme, and Wong Lin had displayed the cultivation power to easily kill a mid-shattered nirvana cultivator. With the soul subjugation seal on display, there was no one in this 5th-rank star domain who dared to provoke him. Even the Jade Treasure sect wouldn't dare hold him accountable for the destruction of half the market district. Once back at the inn, Wong Lin checked the spoils of his battle. Apart from the items gifted by the middle-aged man, Wu Qing's storage space also contained numerous items. After a brief scan, Wong Lin took out a crimson feather. As he held the feather, a faint fire light flickered in his left eye, seemingly resonating with the fire elemental energy within the feather. If I can achieve the 3rd awakening of the Vermilion Bird, my strength will definitely increase. Wong Lin's right hand waved, and the feather immediately transformed into a ball of flame. The flame took the shape of the Vermilion Bird, flying out from his hand, circling around his body joyfully, before finally merging into Wong Lin's left eye and disappearing. At the moment the Vermilion Bird entered his left eye, a sea of flames erupted from Wong Lin's body, but strangely, it did not destroy any items in the room. Instead, it burned in the void. After a long while, the flames were absorbed into his body. Wong Lin took a deep breath, his eyes reflecting deep contemplation. By killing Wu Qing and gaining the name of the divine sect, no one in Penglai should dare to make a move against me anymore. Wong Lin's gaze flickered. In that case, it's time to start collecting. In the following days, 6th-rank sects came to visit, and even the old monsters from the previous meeting with Songzi Tsang came by. Wong Lin greeted each visitor calmly. None came empty-handed. All brought gifts, showing great respect. Though there was still some doubt about Wong Lin's true identity, it was an issue that could not be confirmed. Only those from the Divine Sect could truly know if Wong Lin was real or not. If he was fake, it would just be a matter of losing a few gifts, but if he was real, then forming an alliance with him was a dream come true for any cultivator or sect. One day, after sending off a cultivator from the Daofa sect, the owner of the Vermilion Bird Feather, a frail old man in black, came to visit. This old man made no mention of the previous matter and appeared composed. Wong Lin could sense the fear in him. After all, Wu Qing had been easily slain by this man, and this old man was at the early shattered nirvana stage, so he was naturally cautious. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, the old man clasped his fists and said, "Fellow Taoist Liu, I haven't introduced myself properly. I am Du Da, a solitary cultivator with no sect or faction, only a lone practitioner in the 6th rank star domain. It's an honor to meet you here in Penglai." Wong Lin smiled slightly and said, "Fellow Taoist Du, free as a wandering crane, without the restraints of a sect. That's quite enviable." The old man in black chuckled bitterly and shook his head. "I prefer solitude, so I never joined any sect. I came to Penglai at the invitation of an old friend, and after the large auction in 2 days, I will be leaving. If you ever visit the 6th rank star domain, do come by my cave mansion." Wong Lin nodded, casting a glance at the old man, deep in thought. At such a level of cultivation, the old man must have exceptional perception. He immediately said, "Fellow Taoist Liu, if you have something to ask, feel free to say it. Where did you obtain that vermilion bird feather?" Wong Lin asked slowly, his gaze fixed on the old man. The old man hesitated, then after a brief pause, he said, "I obtained it from a place in the 6th rank star domain's primordial continent. Outsiders don't know of it. I stumbled upon it by chance. The fierce beasts there specialize in fire-based divine abilities, and it's extremely dangerous, so I didn't go too deep." He then took out a jade slip, used his divine sense to inscribe something on it, and handed it to Wong Lin. "If you're interested, fellow Taoist Liu, you may want to visit there, but remember, do not venture too deep. From my observations, there should be an 11th rank fierce beast there." Wong Lin took the jade slip, scanned it with his divine sense, and cupped his fists in thanks. The two exchanged a few more words before the old man got up to leave. In the following 2 days, Wong Lin subtly revealed his intention to purchase a star map jade slip, and immediately, people in the market began quietly acquiring them. Within 2 days, nearly all the star maps in the market were bought up. After a careful check and verification, the star maps were delivered into Song Zitsong's hands. Holding the jade slips, Song Zitsong hesitated for a moment, then went to Wong Lin's inn. After catching up, he handed Wong Lin a storage pouch filled with numerous star maps. "I heard that fellow Taoist Liu is interested in star maps, so I had my people search for these. However, there are many fakes among them. I'm not sure how many are real, so you should examine them carefully," Song Zitsong said. Taking the pouch, Wong Lin smiled and cupped his fists. "Thank you, fellow Taoist Songzi. This saves me a lot of trouble." They spoke a bit longer before Song Zitsong suddenly looked at Wong Lin and said, "After the auction tomorrow, do you have any important matters, fellow Taoist Liu?" Wong Lin looked at him and shook his head. "Fellow Taoist Songzi, if you have something to say, just say it." After a brief pause, Song Zitsong spoke in a low voice. "I know of a secret location that may hold something that would interest you." He looked closely at Wong Lin's expression, but seeing no reaction, he pulled out a jade slip from his sleeve and handed it to Wong Lin. Wong Lin took the jade slip without looking at it. He smiled faintly and gazed at Song Zitsong. Clearing his throat, Song Zitsong continued, "I'll keep it short. I've seen you exchange a large amount of primordial crystals. You must need something. If you help me gain access to that place, I'll reward you with 10,000 primordial crystals." Wong Lin remained calm, his divine sense sweeping through the jade slip. His eyes slightly closed, the room was completely silent. Song Zitsong did not rush, patiently waiting for Wong Lin's response. "I require 20,000 primordial crystals, with 10,000 to be paid up front." After a moment, Wong Lin opened his eyes and spoke in a calm tone. Song Zitsong hesitated for a moment, then nodded with a smile. "Very well. To have the assistance of a disciple of the divine sect is worth 20,000 primordial crystals. Once the auction ends tomorrow, I'll deliver the primordial crystals, and we can head out immediately. Song Zitsong cupped his fists and left. After stepping out of Wong Lin's room, his smile faded, and a cold sneer appeared on his face. How could a disciple of the divine sect lack primordial crystals? This person's identity is highly suspicious. Regardless of whether he's genuine or not, if he's obedient, that's fine. As long as I can get in there, my cultivation will surely rise. Once I'm there, Song Zitsong took a deep breath, suppressing his excitement. He had been preparing for this for nearly 1,000 years. In just 2 short days, the number of cultivators and the spiritual stones expended reached a considerable level. By the time the auction began, the Penglai market had been restored to its former state. The Penglai auction was the most important event in the market. The items being auctioned were of immense value, and many powerful cultivators came to Penglai specifically for this auction. The auction took place in the central square of the main city within the Penglai market. It was not open to everyone. Only those holding an invitation token were allowed entry. Within a radius of 1,000 meters, numerous Jade Treasure Sect cultivators stood guard, preventing outsiders from entering. As the auction was about to begin, various sects' powerful cultivators gathered, entering the venue with their jade slips. Wong Lin, too, had some interest in this auction. Thus, he remained calm and transformed into a long rainbow, heading straight for the main city. As Wong Lin flew, every cultivator who saw him greeted him respectfully with cupped fists. Over the past 2 days, his appearance had been firmly imprinted in everyone's minds, and no one dared to offend him lightly. Before long, Wong Lin arrived in the main city. The Jade Treasure Sect cultivators who could stop anyone without an invitation token immediately froze upon seeing Wong Lin and quickly stepped aside, not daring to check for an invitation token. Around the square, within 1,000 meters, there were nearly 100 scattered cultivators, mostly from the glimpse of Nirvana and pure Nirvana stages. There were very few from the shattered Nirvana stage. Wong Lin's arrival immediately attracted the attention of these near 100 cultivators. One by one, they cupped their fists in greeting, and some even came forward to chat. Wong Lin handled them with ease, his gaze sweeping across the crowd until it landed on Li Qianmei in the distance. Noticing Wong Lin's gaze, Li Qianmei smiled gently, her eyes sparkling like stars. Just as Wong Lin stepped onto the auction square, an elderly man in a red robe, accompanied by 4 middle-aged cultivators, immediately approached. Spotting Wong Lin from a distance, he greeted him with cupped fists, laughing heartily. "Fellow Taoist Liu, it is truly an honor for our Jade Treasure Sect to have you attend our auction." Wong Lin recognized this elderly man. A few days ago, during his visit to the inn, this person was among those who had come to represent the Jade Treasure Sect. "Ah, it's Elder Chow." Wong Lin smiled and cupped his fists slightly. The elderly man in red was extremely polite. He did not dare to underestimate the young man before him, and he even felt a subtle sense of fear. The memory of Wu Qing's death made his heart tremble. When he had previously represented the Jade Treasure Sect to visit Wong Lin, he had sensed from their conversation that this person was no ordinary cultivator. His composure, calmness, and the strange feeling that occurred when their eyes met, like an illusory sense of distortion in his mind, had left him shaken. Afterward, he informed the sect master of what had transpired. After a long period of silence, the sect master issued an order. No disciple of the Jade Treasure Sect was to offend this man. Whether or not this person is truly a disciple of the divine sect is irrelevant to our Jade Treasure Sect. Even if he isn't, the ease with which he killed Wu Qing is enough to earn him this level of respect. After a brief conversation with Wong Lin, Elder Chow glanced at the sky and smiled. "Fellow Taoist Liu, the auction is about to begin. If you have any items to auction, you should make your move quickly." Wong Lin thought for a moment. Indeed, he had a few items he wished to auction off in exchange for more primordial crystals. Upon hearing this, he smiled and said, "Very well. I have 2 magical artifacts I wish to auction." "Oh, a magical artifact worthy of fellow Taoist Liu's attention must be extraordinary," Elder Chow said with interest. Wong Lin didn't speak further. He raised his right hand, and with a gesture, a storage rift appeared before him. 2 items flew out from it, surrounded by black light, heading straight toward Elder Chow. The old man's gaze flickered as he glanced at Wong Lin, his face expressionless. He could tell that the two magical artifacts had restriction seals, so he refrained from using divine sense to probe their effects. Instead, he allowed nearly 100 cultivators surrounding the plaza to focus their attention. Once they had clearly observed the appearance of the items, he took them back. Wong Lin gave a faint smile and glanced at the old man in the red robe, cupping his hands in salute. The old man cleared his throat and spoke softly. I will send these two items to the elder in charge of the auction. Fellow Taoist Liu, please rest assured. He cupped his hands and left with his group. That old man is quite the character, Wong Lin mused as he watched the old man's retreating figure. After the red-robed elder departed, several cultivators approached Wong Lin for conversation, including the white-clad scholar and the alluring matron he had met at Song Sungzi's private gathering. The three were not strangers to him. After a polite exchange, the ground beneath the plaza suddenly shook. A deep silence fell as the shaking intensified, and a moment later, the earth erupted with a thunderous roar as 16 massive stone tablets shot up from the ground. The stone tablets rose until they reached a height of 100 feet before slowly coming to a stop. Immediately, radiant light began to encircle them. At the same time, the ground trembled again as more than 40 slightly smaller stone tablets broke through the earth, stopping at a height of 80 feet. It wasn't over yet. Another nearly 100 stone tablets, each about 50 feet tall, emerged from the ground, forming a massive formation of stone tablets arranged in a circular shape. Most of the cultivators present were not surprised. Many had participated in auctions before. They dispersed, sitting cross-legged on the stone tablets based on their cultivation level and status. Wong Lin remained calm as he took a step forward and landed on one of the 16 stone tablets at the front, sitting cross-legged. No one seemed surprised by his position. It was almost expected. Looking around, he saw that the other cultivators sitting on the front stone tablets were all shattered Nirvana elders, many of whom Wong Lin recognized. As most cultivators settled into their positions, a graceful figure approached Wong Lin's stone tablet. Li Qianmei winked at him before quietly sitting down beside him. I'm leaving, Li Qianmei whispered after sitting down, as if speaking to herself. She sat next to Wong Lin, with a gentle breeze blowing her long, black hair, some strands brushing against Wong Lin's face. A faint fragrance emanated from her, drifting into Wong Lin's nose. The scent was subtle, much like Li Qianmei's calm demeanor, soothing him. The auction had already begun. The elder from the Jade Treasure Sect, with a square face, floated above the plaza. The first item up for bidding was a bell-shaped magical artifact, carved with numerous fierce beast totems. Noticing her hair tangled in Wong Lin's face, Li Qianmei blushed slightly and casually tied it back. When Wong Lin didn't look at Li Qianmei, but instead watched the elder from the Jade Treasure Sect introduce the artifact's effects and asked in a low voice. After the auction ends, Li Qianmei replied softly, her gaze drifting toward the distant sky, lost in thought. I'll accompany you, Wong Lin said quietly. At that moment, the bell was sold, and the elder from the Jade Treasure Sect presented the second item, a pill. Li Qianmei smiled gently, her eyes bright as she turned to Wong Lin and whispered, How will you send me? Will you send me away from Penglai continent? All right. Wong Lin nodded, still not looking at her. Li Qianmei studied his profile, thought for a moment, and then asked softly, Or will you send me to the Ninefold Star Domain? Wong Lin remained silent. Or will you send me to the Demon Sect, to fight off the fierce beasts together? Li Qianmei's voice was sweet, like the sound of a flute, lingering in Wong Lin's ears. Wong Lin remained silent. Li Qianmei sighed softly, turning to look into the distance. The second item was also sold, and the elder from the Jade Treasure Sect took out the third item, a painting. It depicted no mountains, only rivers and lakes, their waves rolling and flowing with lifelike motion. I wasn't planning to leave so soon. There are still things I need to settle, but my master sent a message yesterday. Suddenly, the cracks in the demon sect have become more frequent. The disciples of the ninth-rank sects must hurry to assist. Once I leave, I don't know when I'll return, Li Qianmei said after a long silence. Safe travels, Wong Lin said slowly. I didn't intervene in your fight with Wu Qing earlier because... Li Qianmei hesitated, but her words were interrupted by Wong Lin. I understand, Wong Lin said calmly. Li Qianmei stared at him for a long while before speaking softly. Do you truly understand? Wong Lin didn't respond. His eyes remained fixed on the painting scroll of the rivers and lakes in the hand of the Jade Treasure Sect elder. Around him, cultivators were continuing to place their bids. After a moment of silence, Wong Lin's voice rang out, clear and steady. I'll take this scroll. The moment he spoke, all bidding stopped. Those who had previously called out prices glanced at Wong Lin, then fell silent. No one dared to compete with him. Everyone already knew the story of Wu Qing. His death was not only due to greed, but also because he had once dared to bid against this ominous figure for a treasured item. With a simple gesture, Wong Lin reached into the void and pulled the scroll directly from the Jade Treasure Sect elder's hand. Holding it briefly, he unrolled it, took a quick look, then rolled it up again. For the first time, he turned his head to look at Li Qianmei, at that captivating face and those calm, unshaken eyes. For you, he said, handing her the scroll. Li Qianmei was silent for a long time. Then, a faint smile appeared on her lips. She took the scroll, stood up, gently biting her lower lip, and softly said, If you ever find the person our skyrending sect seeks, please tell him. The skyrending sect extends an invitation. With that, she turned away from Wong Lin without another glance. Like a butterfly taking flight, she rose gracefully into the air. In an instant, her black hair transformed into a stunning shade of blue. Under the gaze of the surrounding cultivators, she slowly drifted away. In her hand, she still held the scroll. To part by the rivers and lakes, is that it? Better to part by the rivers and lakes than to cling through hardship. Two kinds of love, two ways of life, two completely different paths and choices. Over the years, Wong Lin had encountered women more beautiful, more exceptional, and in many ways far superior to Li Muan. Red Butterfly of Luo Tian, Shizi Feng, Willow Eyebrows, Mu Bingmei, Lu Yanfei. Even fleeting encounters with nameless women who merely passed him by. All of them, like passing clouds. Yet in the end, the only ones who ever truly entered his heart were Li Muan and Willow Eyebrows. Wong Lin was a man who didn't understand emotion. The trauma of his early years had turned him into a slaughtering demon. His hands soaked in blood, so much so that even self-proclaimed devils paled in comparison. He didn't know love. If he had ever felt it, it was back in his youth, before cultivation, in those naive days when he dreamt of passing the imperial exams, returning home in glory, with a gentle wife at his side, living out his days in peace with his parents. But after the tragedy that befell the Tung family, Wong Lin died once. His very nature transformed. The sorrow he carried awakened a ruthless clarity. In this world of cultivation, only strength mattered. His feelings for Li Muan, Wong Lin hadn't even realized they were feelings. Not until after she died. Over the course of 1,000 lonely years, as he wandered farther and farther into the unfamiliar void, driven by uncertainty and the demands of cultivation, he kept recalling her again and again. And as he aged, he finally understood. Li Muan, in this way, entered his heart, deeply, irreversibly. Another woman, Willow Eyebrows, also made her way into his heart, but her path was completely different from Li Muan's. It was a painful one, very painful, and yet, in the end, she won. But this victory came at a cost. It pierced the heart of a man already dead inside, tore open his soul, and embedded itself within his bleeding wound. Wong Lin's heart had long died, and now, it had been torn apart. He had nothing left to give. All he could do was part by the rivers and lakes. As Li Qianmei disappeared into the distance, her cascading blue hair revealed her true identity for all to see. In the sea of clouds, only one woman bore such hair, Li Qianmei. She hadn't needed to do this, but she did it anyway. Heavenly pride of the ninefold skyrending sect, Li Qianmei, had shared a seat atop the stone stele with Wong Lin. She had accepted his gift of the scroll. This scene was clearly etched into the minds of all nearby cultivators. In her own way, Li Qianmei had just confirmed Wong Lin's identity as a disciple of the divine sect. The auction continued, but the way the surrounding cultivators looked at Wong Lin had subtly changed. Before, many still held doubts about his divine sect status, though they dared not show it. Now, most of those doubts had vanished. dissolved by Li Qianmei's silent declaration. The next item for auction is a mountain stone, announced the elder from the Jade Treasure Sect in charge of the auction, giving Wong Lin a sidelong glance. He flipped his hand, revealing an object in his palm. It was a broken mountain stone, heavily damaged, its remaining fragments unimpressive to the eye. As he looked at it, Wong Lin seemed transported back to the battles in Luotian. That very stone had shattered during those brutal fights. Later, Wong Lin had gathered what fragments remained, now nothing more than a discarded magical artifact in his storage dimension. 1,000 immortal jade, someone called from the crowd after a brief silence. 5,000 immortal jade, came a quiet voice from the white-robed scholar who knew Wong Lin. 10,000 immortal jade, said the elder from the Daofa sect seated atop one of the foremost stone steels, his tone calm and steady. No one else made a bid around them. As for the mountain stone, apart from a few great divine ability cultivators, the rest of the cultivators seemed to consider it worthless. However, when Wong Lin had previously spoken with the Chao clan cultivator from the Jade Treasure Sect and presented 2 magical items, the surrounding cultivators had clearly seen what those items looked like. Everyone knew that the mountain stone belonged to Wong Lin. A mere 10,000 immortal jade was enough for cultivators to wish to be on good terms with Wong Lin. In the Cloud Sea Star domain, 10,000 immortal jade was already considered quite substantial. Wong Lin remained calm, and with a gesture of his right hand, he pointed forward. A restriction flew out and landed on the remains of the mountain stone. Immediately, ripples spread across its surface, and after a brief moment, the ripples faded. An ancient, weathered aura spread out from the stone, enveloping the surrounding area. This ancient aura carried the marks of time, and in an instant, the surrounding cultivators all grew solemn. The shattered Nirvana elders were somewhat unaffected, especially the cultivators in the pure Nirvana and glimpse of Nirvana stages. Their eyes gleamed as they focused on the mountain stone, deep in thought. Mountain Soul, the alluring matron, who was familiar with Wong Lin, looked at the stone with a hint of surprise, then shook her head and whispered, "Such a pity. It's already broken. This is no ordinary mountain stone. It contains immortal chi. Could this be a mountain from the immortal realm?" 20,000 immortal jade. The scholar in white spoke calmly. Although this item may be of no use to us shattered Nirvana cultivators, younger disciples from our sect could gain some insight into the divine abilities it holds. More importantly, this could very well be something brought back from the immortal realm, and then refined into this form. The elder from the Taoist sect pondered for a moment before slowly adding, 30,000 immortal jade. 40,000 immortal jade. A voice came from a distance. It was Ouyang Long, sitting cross-legged atop a stone tablet in the back. 1,000 primordial crystals. The elder from the Taoist sect spoke with a deep tone. The surroundings fell into silence, and no one else made a bid. Ultimately, the item was purchased by the elder from the Taoist sect. Though the mountain stone was extraordinary, it didn't cause much of a stir at the auction. At most, it only caused a slight ripple. However, the next item to be presented stunned everyone, including Wong Lin. This magical artifact is a set of armor. The elder from the Jade Treasure Sect took a deep breath, a hint of doubt and excitement in his eyes. He waved his right hand, and a cloud of black mist swirled in front of him, gradually taking the vague form of armor. As soon as the black mist appeared, some cultivators in the crowd shifted uncomfortably, their expressions changing. Among them were the elderly cultivator with a pocked face and the scholar in white. "Please, fellow Taoist LV, remove the restriction so we can examine it more closely." The elder cupped his hands towards Wong Lin and pointed out that the item belonged to him. Wong Lin took note of the elder's expression, pondering for a moment. He raised his hand, pointing forward, and the restriction flew out, landing on the black mist. The mist suddenly seemed to boil, swirling violently as the layers of seals faded away, eventually disappearing entirely. The mist quickly contracted, revealing a pitch-black armor, surrounded by an overwhelming demonic aura. The demonic energy was so intense that the skies seemed to change color. A massive vortex appeared in the sky, spinning slowly. As soon as the armor's seal was lifted, a deep silence fell over the auction room. Cultivators widened their eyes in astonishment. Even the shattered Nirvana elder sitting on the stone tablet in front jumped in shock, his eyes flashing with unimaginable brilliance. Some cultivators stood up in surprise, their faces filled with disbelief. Divine Sect demonic armor. The elderly cultivator with a pocked face gasped, muttering to himself. The divine demon armor. Could it really be the divine demon armor? It's the legendary armor only possessed by cultivators from the divine sect. The aura is incredibly thick. This must be a 4th grade divine demon armor. The entire auction room erupted into excitement at the sight of the armor. The cultivators here were all well-traveled and highly skilled, with strong resolve. However, at this moment, the majority of them lost their composure, and their mental fortitude collapsed. Everything was because of this divine demon armor. Fellow Taoist LV, are you really going to sell this? The elder from the Taoist sect stood up, cupping his hands towards Wong Lin and speaking gravely. As his words fell, the surrounding area immediately quieted down, and all eyes were focused on Wong Lin. Wong Lin's expression remained composed as he glanced at the scattered demon armor. He hadn't expected this item to be connected with the divine sect. His interest in the divine sect from the Cloud Sea Star domain grew significantly. I only want primordial crystals. Wong Lin spoke calmly. Very well. I am willing to offer 3,000 primordial crystals to purchase it. The elder from the Taoist sect's voice was firm and resolute. I'll offer 5,000 primordial crystals. The elderly woman who had previously traded the star map with Wong Lin spoke slowly, her eyes gleaming with an unusual light as she gazed at the scattered demon armor. Everyone who wishes to purchase this item must surely be interested in studying the divine sect's divine abilities. This item is found only in the Sea of Clouds, and only the divine sect possesses it. It is rarely ever leaked out. I must have it at all costs. I offer 8,000 primordial crystals. The scholar in white took a deep breath and said in a low voice, 10,000 primordial crystals. The elder of the Tao sect hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and spoke. Their Tao sect's primordial crystals were limited, and 10,000 was the maximum he could offer. As soon as this price was announced, the sound of gasps could be heard around them. Such a high-stakes auction was no place for idle spectators. Just then, a strange voice came slowly from the crowd. 13,000 primordial crystals from the 7th rank secret Luo sect. The surrounding cultivators immediately turned their gazes toward the source of the voice. It was a young man dressed in yellow, holding a fan and offering his bid. The elder of the Tao sect stared blankly at the armor, sighed deeply, and stopped bidding. The others also fell silent. This price was already the limit. They simply didn't have that many primordial crystals. 15,000 primordial crystals. Ouyang Long's voice rang out, faintly trembling. Even he was shaken by such a price. 18,000 primordial crystals. The young man in yellow frowned and said in a deep voice, 20,000 primordial crystals. Ouyang Long gritted his teeth and responded, 25,000 primordial crystals. The young man in yellow's eyes flashed with cold light. 30,000 primordial crystals. Ouyang Long's forehead broke out in sweat. You, a mere 5th-rank cultivator of the Penglai Jade Treasure Sect, how could you possibly have so many primordial crystals? The young man in yellow suddenly stood up, staring at Ouyang Long. A murderous intent flickered in his eyes as he recognized Ouyang Long's identity.